wants to say hello, that's great. Always nice to know where everybody is signing in from.
So it looks like a lot of you don't want to be on video and you're covering up your screens with paper. A more efficient way of doing that might be to look towards the bottom of your screen on the left-hand side as you're facing it and click the stop video. That way you don't have to worry about covering up your screen, and it will actually make the presentation a little faster and smoother because you won't be sending video both back and forth. So that might be a handy tip.
That is a good tip.
A few people, Sarah Olson, you're not muted. Karen, so I don't know if I should say full names. Karen, there's a few people who aren't muted, and it might be a good idea. Just look the mute button also on the left lower side of your screen, so that when you want to say hi, you can do it deliberately as opposed to accidentally letting us hear you when you sneeze. It embarrasses me. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Risa. Hello, everyone.
Okay. Rena, if you want to get started, we've got like a fair number of people. I'm sure more people will just keep coming in, but it's good. You know, we're 8:35, so it's fair to start.
Yes, I'm so excited. Okay. Hi, everybody. It's 8:30 Eastern time, and it is time for all of you guys to get started on your common application essays. And if you've already gotten started, it's time to get started on the second drafts. And we're hoping to get you feeling not just confident, but excited to start this journey tonight. So I can see some of your smiling faces, or, you know, these kinds of faces. I know that we have a mix of parents and kids here tonight. And I would like to invite the parents who are joining in to not just be observers. I would like to invite the parents to be participants, because today we are going to be doing some brainstorming exercises. We're going to be digging deep into our hearts and our souls and trying to decide what defines us. And we're going to be thinking about the experiences that are important to us and that show who we are. And I don't think that the parents should be accepted from that. So I'd like to invite you, if you are of the adult persuasion and you're watching this presentation, to go ahead and put yourself back in the mindset of being a teenager. I know you're very excited to go back to high school mentally, but we find that if you go ahead and put yourself in the place of your kids who are going through this process, then you'll end up with a little better understanding, and maybe everyone will have a smoother time, if that makes sense. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, I'm going to maybe start by doing the screen share. Hang on, let me make sure I'm on the right thing. Have to give me 1 second. See, I'm usually, hang on, this is slightly changed on me. All right, so 1 second. This would be a good time, while I make sure I can set up screen share properly, to put any questions in the chat window, or go ahead and unmute yourself quickly if you have any opening desires for this particular workshop, any burning questions that you have. Oh, here, I figured it out. Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's get this up on the screen. Okay. Welcome to the Prompt Common App Essay Workshop. I know that this is probably the essay that is giving you, that is foremost in your mind, and it should be, because it's the one essay that goes to the most schools. So if you're thinking about a cost-benefit analysis, it's absolutely worth your time to spend a lot of time thinking about got some contact info for Prompt up on the screen, just in case you don't know who I am and where I'm from. Prompt is a company that provides feedback and help brainstorming and writing college essays. We consider ourselves a writing, teaching company, and our goal is to help you become better writers at this time in your life when it's most important for you to write a really amazing, heartfelt essay. Most of you have done tons of writing for school up to this point, but this is a very different kind of writing. This is a kind of writing where you're trying to prove a point. So at the end of this presentation, we do partner with Road to College, and we're going to offer all of you a discount package on our essay feedback packages. So stay tuned for that code. You'll get it at the end. So you have to listen to me talk for the whole 45 minutes to get the code. So stick around. All right. So as I said, this is being a little fussy. So, as I said, this is writing with a very specific goal. It's to support your college application. Now, the goal of your college application in general, and you probably know this already, but it does bear going over, is to prove that you will be successful in college and beyond. So when colleges think successful, we like to break it down into 4 main categories. 1, you'll graduate and do well in your classes. 2, you will contribute positively to the school's community. 3, you'll have a positive impact on whatever you choose to do in the future. And finally, this is an important one because I know you guys are really focused on trying to prove that you're the right fit for the college. You're trying to prove yourselves and get them to like you and accept you. They also want to be the right fit for you. So they want to know that they're going to help you achieve your goals or put you on a path to achieving them. They want you to go to their school and do well and be happy. It's sort of a matchmaking process. So I'll take these in chat. I think that will be the cleanest way of doing it. Can anyone tell me how you would use your application to prove that you'll graduate and do well in your classes? This is not a trick question. It's a really straightforward answer. Somebody help me out. Somebody has to type a chat window. Anything. I usually do this live, so it's a little trickier. You can also unmute. I'll take it verbally. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, now I have 1 million. Beautiful. Okay. Self-reported grades, yes, or they don't have to be self-reported, right? You can actually do your transcript. Grades, ACT scores, that's really straightforward, right? History of success, that's great. That's a great way of, thank you, Robin. That's a great way of proving that you're going to contribute to your community, right? There's certain elements of the application that are pretty straightforward. But how are you going to prove something like you'll have a positive impact on whatever you choose to do in the future, or the college will help you achieve your goals or put you on a path to achieving them? There's no transcript that's going to prove that for you. That's where the essay comes in. And that's why the essay is crucial. All right, let me get to the next slide. So before we talk a little bit more about how to use the essay to prove these crucial last sections, let's talk about a few myths, right? When you're talking about college success. You should be able to see slides. I'm going to keep going back in and back and forth so that you don't have to watch me scroll through the slides awkwardly. If you need to move a little screen with my face on it, you can just move it all around your screen so that you can see whatever you want to look at. So here are the 3 sort of common myths that that sometimes trip people up. Number 1, and you might have already, this one I think has been debunked more widely, the idea of the well-rounded student, the idea that you have to be good at everything. that's not really what colleges are looking for. They're not looking for students who are well-rounded. They're looking for students who are spiky. They excel at one or two things. That doesn't just apply to your academics or your skills. This applies to your internal traits, what makes you you, right? I think a lot of, like, the idea of the spiky student has kind of become popular, which I think is great. This next one is a little trickier. A lot of students, when they sit down to write their Common App essay, they think, oh gosh, this is the essay that defines me. It's very understandable. They feel as if they have to tell their whole life story. And you don't. In fact, the 650 words, you really can't. This is what makes the essay so tricky. You have to find that one thing that will bring your personality to life without going through your entire story. So you might feel as if you have to write the story of the most important thing that's happened to you, and that might be the essay you have to write, but not necessarily. Sometimes the most exciting essays are about something small and random or simple. I still remember an essay that I read about a student's obsession with building model airplanes, because it gave me such a great idea of the kind of person that he was. And finally, people often misunderstand the terms creative and thought-provoking. You don't have to use super fancy language. You don't have to impress them with exciting structures. You want to be clear. Admissions officers read hundreds of essays in a week, most of them usually 50 to 100 a day. You want to be pretty straightforward so that they see you and nothing's obscuring who you are. All right. Any questions so far? You can go ahead and type them or unmute yourself. I'll take a brief pause to see if anybody has any questions. Cool. Let's rush on. So, again, I don't have the right software to display this as beautifully as I should. So here we go. We'll go back to the screen share. Lauren, are you able to see slides now? In a second. There you go. You should be able to see them again. Good. Okay. So we talked about how the essay has to prove these more undefinable, ephemeral things, but you can't prove them just by asserting them, right? You can't say, I'm going to contribute positively to the school's community. You can't say, I'm going to have a positive impact in the world. You have to prove it by talking about your experiences, things that you've gone through, things that you've done. You need to be specific. You need to tell a story. So this next part is one of my favorite bits. I don't know if any of you guys like to take online quizzes about your personality. I'm a Hufflepuff, neutral good, chaotic evil. You know, what Gilmore role defines me. I don't know. If you do, go ahead, leave that in the comments. And if you don't want to admit to it, that's fine. But I enjoy taking those. They're pretty fun. And when we talk about what proves success, we like to talk about 5 different qualities. And what I love about them is that you don't have to excel in all of them. No, they're all good in different ways. We're all beautiful and unique flowers. And what's important in the college essay process is understanding who you are so that you can convey that in a persuasive way. Let me check the chat window. Awesome. BuzzFeed and MBTI, thank you, Sonal. I appreciate that. Okay. So these are the 5 qualities. And they're not necessarily super different. A lot of it's about what the motivation is as opposed to what you're able to do with it. So, drive. Pushing yourself to succeed no matter how long the odds, going through difficult situations, coming out a better person. That's grit, right? Second, intellectual curiosity. That's learning just for the fun of it in your free time to gain a deeper understanding of something that you're interested in or passionate about. Initiative, that's someone who's not willing to accept the way things are. They want to start things. They want to improve things. This is sometimes thought of as leadership, but it doesn't necessarily have to be leadership. It can be you having the need to create something and make it your own, right? So again, like there's some overlap, right? So your intellectual curiosity could lead you to start a project about something, but that could also be your initiative, right? Your need to start something of your own and make it totally your own. Fourth, contribution. That's that social conscience, making your community, your school, and organization that you're part of a better place, right? The urge to give back. Finally, diversity of experience. That's that uniqueness factor, something you could bring that gives you a unique perspective that most other people don't have. This could be something super straightforward, like being the first person from your family to attend college, something super dramatic, like having donated a kidney to your brother, or something that's just quirky and totally unique to you, like being a classical musician that suddenly got super into heavy metal, right? All of these qualities are valuable to schools. And if you sort of look deep in your heart, and we actually provide with in modules on our site, there's actually a, don't like to call it a quiz, but you can actually go ahead and take a test, a questionnaire to help you determine which of these you're strongest in. And usually most people are strongest in 2 or 3, right? And when you look at these different qualities, you want to ask, you want to be sort of honest about it, right? Because you don't have to have drive, right? I know people who are driven totally by their intellectual curiosity and their contribution, and they're incredibly successful, even though they have no drive, no grit, no desire to keep going when the going gets tough, right? It's okay to rate yourself a 0 in one of these. That's being honest, right? So just take a moment, and if you guys want to share, actually, if you're thinking through this, if you want to share in the comments which 2 of these you think are your main 2, that'd be super fun. I would say that mine are intellectual curiosity and initiative. This is a game that parents can play too. Let's see if we have any. Awesome. How can you demonstrate intelligence? Or do you mean, how can you demonstrate intellectual curiosity? With stories about things that you've gone ahead and learned all by yourself in your essay. There you go. Okay. Drive and initiative. Thank you, Lisa. That's awesome. Anybody else? Drive and intellectual curiosity. Thank you, Sunal. Super cool. Ah. Okay. All right, let's get to the next slide. This thing is being a little fussy. Okay. Great. So, does everybody have something they can take notes with? Some people like to take notes by hand. Some people like to type. So if you like to type, now's a good time to open up a little notes app or a Word document or a Google Doc on your computer, because we are going to do some brainstorming. I know sometimes the hardest thing is to get started, but we're going to get started right now, tonight, in the next 2 minutes. So I've got these questions up on the slide. And again, I want the parents to do this too. And I'm going to read the questions aloud to you. You don't have to respond to all of them. I want you to respond to the questions related to at least one of the qualities that you rated yourself highest in. Does that make sense? So if you, who do we have in the chats? So Michelle is a bit of all 5. Michelle is a Mario. That means she's completely well-rounded. That's not impossible, but if you can try to narrow in a little bit on one of them, it might make your college writing process a little easier. On the other hand, Michelle gets to answer all of the questions, so maybe that's fun. Great. Oh, Keisha, are you saying that? Oh, I see. You're saying that your name is Keisha. I'm sorry, Keisha. or maybe Kisha, I do not know how to pronounce it from that. I thought that It's Kisha was maybe a cool new quiz platform that the kids were using that I didn't know about yet. I'm, you know, I don't know your TikToks and your Instagram, I'm not sure. So I didn't realize you were saying your name. Great, thank you. So I'm going to read them out loud to you, and as I read, I want you to answer the questions that apply to you, okay? So you're going to be using these to brainstorm experiences that might make good topics for your common application essay, okay? If something doesn't come to mind, that's all right. Focus on responding to the questions that do spark immediate ideas within you. And again, if you want to go back and end up using our modules, there's a longer guided brainstorming experience that you can go through if you enjoy this brainstorming section. Okay. Keisha, thank you, Keisha. All right, drive. And I really want you guys, like, I'm not lying. Try to keep your fingers and your pens moving. Just write, even if you're writing. I don't know what to write. Try to get the ideas to flow. Drive. Ask yourself, what is the biggest challenge you've overcome? How did the experience change you? What is your greatest talent or skill? What actions did you take to grow this talent or skill? Intellectual curiosity. What is a subject or topic that you learned just for the fun of it? What do you find yourself doing or learning in your free time? Describe a time when you found yourself immersed in a topic. What did you learn? How did it change how you think about the world, yourself, or others? Initiative. Think about your favorite organization or community. How would it be different if you weren't there? In other words, what changes did you make to this organization or community that make it what it is today? This is the It's a Wonderful Life question. What would the world be like if you weren't there, if you hadn't done that? Contribution. What is the community, family, school, neighborhood where you feel at home? What's your role in that community? What have you done that has changed it for the better? Diversity of experience. What have you done or experienced in your life that's different from what other applicants might have experienced? How have these experiences affected who you are? What's the one thing you usually know more about than anybody else in most rooms you're in? I'm going to give you 1 minute to keep writing on whichever of these questions, which I will leave on the board, sparked the most interesting response from you. And if you feel comfortable sharing that response in 1 or 2 sentences, a summary in the chat, that would be really interesting. few more seconds. Right, whatever you can think of. I love all the people who are sharing. All right, awesome. Okay, thank you guys who shared in the comments. Those are really cool answers. All of these are really excellent potential topics for your Common App essay. A great Common App essay could come out of wanting to learn ways that you've learned more about neuroscience and astronomy in your free time. Maybe both of them at the same time. It's not impossible. I'm sure they've found ways to link it. Excellent. Being a ballet dancer, that's very, very, that's all about drive, right? Oh, excellent. Keisha, yeah, that's a really big realization to make. And that, I think that speaks to a couple of different main drives. I think that speaks to both, perhaps. It might be intellectual curiosity. It's definitely initiative. I think that's majorly initiative. And it might also be drive, but I think, yeah, that's a great way to show your initiative. Oh, this is very excellent. Look at all these amazing answers. Cool. Oh, okay. I think you guys you've got great topics. That is one thing I can say. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe your intellectual curiosity is about curiosity itself. You're going to wish for more wishes. Awesome. Guys, keep sharing these. They're really, really fun. And I think you don't have to stop sharing them, essentially, even as we move along. Oh, okay. I have many strengths, but one of them is not scrolling properly during screen share. Great. So now that you guys have had a little time to brainstorm some of your content, let's talk about we kind of think of ambitions and goals as nice to haves in an essay, right? Because it's not everybody is definitely positive that they're going to be an architect when they grow up. Sometimes you are not entirely sure, but and that's okay. But it's good to try to get a handle on your ambitions because that's a really strong thing to include in an essay. It will provide a clear narrative arc to the reader. It's a good way of connecting your experiences to things you hope to do in the future. And it will kind of help the reader think, oh yeah, here's this amazing student on my campus doing amazing things and then graduating and doing great things. So you want to ask yourself if you know what you want to major in. If you do, that's great. If you do, what is it? And then you want to be able to say why you want to major in it. Even if you don't know what you want to major in, you can still ask yourself, what do you hope to do after you graduate? So this doesn't have to be related to the major. It could be a specific career. It's not everybody has a career that is directly tied to a major, but if you don't know your major, you do have a post-career goal, then you should definitely think about including it. And then finally, even if you don't know either your major or your career goals, you can still ask yourself, what are the types of things you do that you hope to continue doing in the future? For example, if you are motivated by helping others, you probably want to continue helping others when you are an adult. If you are motivated by learning amazing new things, you probably want a career that will involve you learning amazing new things, right? And perhaps those things that continue to motivate you will continue to be a part of the career that you ultimately choose. So again, if this has kind of sparked any exciting ideas in anybody's mind, please do share them in the comments, especially if you can, especially that last one, right? Because sometimes I know choosing your major, choosing your career, sometimes that's tricky, but that doesn't mean you don't have an idea of who you are, right? And what you love to do and what motivates you. Let's take a look. Oh, great question. Thank you so much, Milima. that's okay. It is okay. What we encourage you to do is try. And this is another thing you should, if you've started your essay and you've written a first draft, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have already written about everything you're going to write, right? Writing a Common App essay, you should expect to do multiple drafts. So when we take students through our feedback process, for a Common App essay, we expect them to do 3 drafts. Sometimes people need more, but 3 drafts is sort of what our process is based on. So draft 1 is the specialist looks at the essay and thinks about the big picture, like thinks about content, asks themselves, and this is something, by the way, you can use if you're asking a friend or a parent or a teacher to look over your essay, or if you're a parent and you're looking over an essay. It's a little hard when it's your kid because you're kind of biased, but these are the questions you can ask yourself. What did I learn about this person, this student? And what do I still need to learn? What's exciting? What seems sincere? And what questions do I still have, right? So that first essay is all about answering those big questions of what's missing in what we call the content. And that also involves the structure, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Then the second draft is sort of helping the student pare things down, figure out which of the content they've generated is the most compelling, working on the structure, and then filling in any gaps that have come up, right? Because when you start answering questions, sometimes other questions come up. And then the third draft is about getting it down to the word count. Oh, absolutely. Sorry, I just got distracted by Michelle's excellent question. The third draft is the polish. So I would recommend that you do this whether or not you use our services. Don't worry about the sentence level writing until your content and structure are just where you want them, because you're just gonna waste time, right? You wanna quote unquote kill your darlings, but don't even have darlings in the first place. You really want to focus on that information first. So Michelle asked, we should find a way to add our unique qualities to the topic we are writing about, telling a story about ourselves. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't even necessarily, the topic you choose should be a big part of you, right? So let's say someone up there was was fascinated with neuroscience, right? So if you write about neuroscience, then you're not going to write a neuroscience informational essay. You're going to write about your experiences in neuroscience. So it will naturally be about you, and it will naturally show your unique qualities, right? And so again, using that as an example, neuroscience, I'm just going to make stuff up. This isn't about the actual student who authored this. You can think of lots of different neuroscience-focused essays by different students that would still reveal different qualities. So for instance, there might be a student who writes an essay about their interest in neuroscience. And the story there is that a member of their family that's close to them has a neuroscience-related disease. And their drive to give back, their sort of social conscious, makes them want to study that disease so that it can be defeated. Neuroscience essay, right? Another student might be just obsessed with the brain and just can't get over the beauty and the wonder and, oh, there's as many neurons as there are stars in the sky or whatever. I don't actually know if that's true. And they might talk about a project that they might talk about a project that they started in order to learn more about it, or independent research that they did, right? And that could go towards their intellectual curiosity or their initiative, right? So 2 essays that are about the topic, but very, very different in terms of who the person is. Good question, Michelle. Awesome. Okay. So a lot of you have come up with some cool things to write about. And I'm going to start having to speed through because I am going a little bit too slow. You want to look at your experiences that you've brainstormed and try to figure out which of them are the strongest, right? So if you do a good amount of brainstorming, you might end up with, 5 or 6 experiences. So, oh no, how do I pick? This will help. Ask yourself, does this experience tie to my ambition? Does this experience play a critical role in forming who you are today, right? You were a different person before the experience, and now you've changed, you've grown. In this experience, did you do something that displayed your highest rated values and traits? So if you went through this experience and it showed your drive, and that's something you rate yourself highly in, that might be a good experience. Or if you went through this experience and it showed your initiative, right? You took leadership, that might be a good experience. But if that's not core to who you are, then it might not be as good. Did this experience result in me learning something about myself that caused you to do something that you wouldn't have done otherwise? And then finally, is this experience related to something that you are excited to talk about, right? That you could bend somebody's ear off. Something that excites you, that you love talking about, that you could talk about for hours and hours, is always going to be easier to write about in a compelling way. And that's why I bring up the essay that I remember about building model airplanes. Because even if you think it's not important or it might be boring to other people, if you're excited to talk about, it can make a really exciting essay. Okay, so let's go through some basic outlines. So I want you guys to not think of this necessarily as a formula. This is just a way to help you organize your thoughts, right? Because in 650 words, you can't just tell a chronological story, right? You want to draft something out that will allow you to jump through time and focus on what's most important. So the most common structure that we use, and again, it's adjusted based on the needs of each individual essay, is the journey structure. And this is a structure you can use when you want to write about an experience that changed you, right? So that goes to a lot of the common app questions. You really shouldn't worry too much about the prompts. It's better to develop your topic first and then decide what prompt it fits. But very often a compelling thing to write about is an experience that changed you or something you did that changed you. So with the journey structure, you start with an intro that sets the scene and drops some hints about what is to come. So if this is a movie or a TV show, this is the sort of, this is the scene they show before the credits to grab your attention, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? I want to know more, right? It can start in the middle of the action. It can introduce a lot of the main elements, all of the characters. You want it to be vivid, you want it to pop. And you want it to give a little bit of a clue about the project of your entire essay. Honestly, a really well-written TV show, if you watch the teaser scenes, that they will give you some good ideas about how to quickly convey this kind of information. Then we usually think about the idea of stepping back and showing before. So the intro, you can grab somebody's attention in a lot of ways, but a pretty useful thing is to talk about, start in the middle of the experience yourself, then step back, give some context, right? 2 months earlier, I was, right? It's important to have this before section, because if you're wanting to prove that an experience made you change and grow, you want to show the reader who you were beforehand. Next is the most crucial part, during. This is what happened and what you did during this experience that you're writing about to overcome the challenge or to succeed. And then finally, the after, how you changed, right? So you have to include the before to show who you were before. You have to include the during to show how you changed, and then you have to include the after with specific, concrete examples of how you were different after the experience than you were before. And then you will generally wrap it up with a conclusion that will often look towards the future. That's usually a great place to put in those ambition topics if you are able to talk about them in a compelling way. Oh, I'm gonna have to rush through this one. So the montage structure is another great option for somebody who is not writing about a single experience. That forms the pivot of the essay. So these types of essays are most successful when they're kind of about a single theme, right? it's really hard to have a bunch of different core messages in an essay. But if you have like a really strong core message, like your core message is, I've learned that I can succeed when I allow other people to contribute instead of working by myself. Then you might have a montage structure with an intro that again sets a scene, drops some hints as to what's to come. Then do maybe 2 or 3 experiences, 1 paragraph for each experience that each kind of convey the same message. And then finally, at the end, you can bring it all together by explaining concisely why this guiding theme is important to you. And then again, always a good idea to look to the future. Don't let it make you panic, but if you can look to the future, it's a great idea. So if anybody looking at what they're thinking about writing about, or even a first draft they have, if you think you have identified which of these structures, and again, you don't have to use them, but they're very helpful. You can tweak them to make them work for you, might work better for you, go ahead and drop that in the comments. If you're like, oh my gosh, I just realized I should use the journey structure and it will really help me out, go ahead and make that comment. Okay, we are at time, so I'm just gonna give you a couple of hints about giving feedback on first drafts. So some of you are gonna give peer feedback, and again, some of you are going to give feedback to people who are important in your lives. So we like to take time. We take about 45 to 50 minutes to give feedback on a personal statement. So spending the time now saves you time later. And the goal is to be done with the essay in 2 to 3 drafts. Written feedback, we prefer to verbal feedback. We find that it's kind of harder for students to remember things. So this is just kind of a handy tip. If you are, again, providing peer feedback. And this is the big tip that I think everybody should remember. If somebody asks you for feedback on a first draft, don't skip to the sentence level feedback. Start with the content, because that's what's most important. And again, I know I'm a little bit over time. I promise I will finish super quickly. What we talked about before, talk about what you learned about the offer. Is it compelling? What didn't you learn that you wanted to learn? And then consider the structure. So I'm gonna finish this off by giving you the code, just like I promised. So go ahead, take a screenshot, write that down. Code is R2C early. And if anybody has any last questions they want to throw into the comments, please do that. I will answer them. I'm gonna hang out here for a little bit afterwards to help you out with any questions that you have.
Can you just answer that one quick question that somebody had sent in about what's the difference between a college essay and a scholarship essay? And it's kind of gets at this idea of like, can people be reusing essays from other areas?
So this totally depends on the prompt. So scholarship essays are often very specific and ask you to answer very specific prompts. So I think that it's very dependent on the particular scholarship essay. If you are applying to a scholarship at a school that accepts the Common App essay, we really don't recommend reusing the Common App essay for the scholarship essay because you're putting together a whole package. So you don't want to be, if you're, in general, definitely reuse essays and topics when it helps you, but if you're putting together a package to send to a whole school, you don't want to reuse essays or topics if it all goes to that same school. Does that make sense?
Yep.
A lot of scholarship essays will be pretty similar to the Common App, but a lot of them will be different. Got another question? Excellent.
I'm just going to give, I mean, there might be some other questions that people add into chat. Let me just give a little bit more housekeeping on what's next, if people want next. So Raina mentioned, well, actually, I'm actually not going to touch on what Raina mentioned yet. What we've been doing, I did a 90-minute even like much more in-depth workshop that Brad Schiller runs. He's the CEO of Prompt. We did one back in August, and we're going to do one again this Sunday. It's limited to 35 students, and it's really more in depth to help everybody brainstorm their topic. I mean, you should walk out of that workshop with absolutely knowing your topic and absolutely having the outline of your essay. Tonight was a little bit more like an overview, but the next workshop kind of goes much deeper into making sure that you have kind of all the basics of what you need to go out and write that first draft. Or some people actually come to that workshop with their first draft, and we give them the opportunity. It's kind of like first come, first serve. Whoever sends in their essay first, or we pick like the first 2 or 3, Brad actually reviews them anonymously and just kind of, says what worked and what doesn't work about the essay. So it gives kind of a real live review of how to, analyze the essay and the type of feedback that you'll get. So that is, and this all will be in a follow-up email as well, but I just thought I would explain it while everybody is still here live. So that workshop is this Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Again, limited to 35 students. It's not kind of like a big webinar. It's really, much more intimate, and it's 90 minutes long. It is $50, but with that $50, it actually gives you the workshop and one essay review. I mean, I wrote this in an email. I sometimes feel like I'm actually like a QVC presenter when I say that these are great deals, but I really believe that this is like a great deal, that you get this, very detailed workshop, and you get the one essay review, and it's all $50. And it's really, really meant to just kickstart and get everybody started, so that you can, as Raina said, just write your first draft. Don't worry about, the number of words and all that type of stuff. Just get it on paper and then get that first review. Don't even waste a lot of time. Get the first review, and then that will give you direction about what to do next. That's the purpose of this workshop. Honestly, that's why it's priced so well, is just to get people started. And then in addition, somebody said I went mute for 30 seconds. I'm sorry. I'll repeat if there's something I missed. In addition, on top of that is this code that Raina has mentioned. It's the R2C early. So in addition to the workshop, if you want to purchase more credit reviews, like to just finish up the process, there's a discount on purchasing them, in the package. So that's just to kind of encourage you to kind of finish up the process. So I just wanted to explain those two things. Again, it will go out in an email. I hope that wasn't too confusing, but I really do think that all these services are great. A, they're a great deal. B, they're quality services. And C, if you just use them and work hard, and really with like less than 2 weeks, you can kind of get this done. So that's my spiel.
Nothing has ever been truer. Whatever you need to do to get, this is a great way to motivate yourself, but the most important thing is to start. The sooner you start, the less anxiety you're going to feel about it, and you're going to feel really good to have gotten that first draft out and start the journey.
And let me just give everybody my personal experience. I don't know, if people are in the Facebook group, they kind of know a little bit about my story. I have 3 kids. I've been through the process twice. I have a third that I'm just about to start. Let's just say that the essay is the most anxiety provoking, not just for the kids, but for the parents. We get into so many arguments about, are you done? Are you going to work? When are you going to finish this? It's this like constant nagging. And Prompt was not around for my first 2 kids. They're not that old, but they just weren't there about 4 years ago. And what I have seen from what Brad has been able to build, and honestly, it's one of the reasons why we partnered with them, is that because they've been able to review so many essays, they just have the insight into what works, what doesn't work, what colleges are looking for. When you can review, and correct me if I'm wrong, Raina, but when a company can review 30,000 essays, you have a different insight into what a student needs to do to be successful. You're not just one-off. You're not even doing 100. You've done 30,000, which is just at a different level of data gathering and knowing what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, that's why we specialize in essays, because they're so hard to specialize in. And that's why we help out other college counseling services instead of trying to compete with them, because those 30,000 essays do make a difference. We're always looking to improve the approach.
Right. And I don't think that they really say this publicly, but just, that Prompt actually does a lot of the college essay reviews honestly, for private college counselors. So people who are working, and hiring private college counselors, sometimes those counselors are then working with Prompt to get these essays reviewed. So that's just kind of another data point in kind of the quality of the service.
It's true. It's the majority of our business.
So I ran on too long, but if anybody has any other questions. Okay, I put the link in for the Sunday workshop. It's in the chat. And again, I'll follow up with an email. It's limited to 35 students. Last time we did this was in August. We maxed out at 35, and so there were a few people who couldn't do it. Hopefully, if this timing works on Sunday. Oh, sorry, I heard 8:30. It's going to be 8 p.m. It will be 8 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. If that works, I think it's a great opportunity to get started. Your student should absolutely attend this one on Sunday. Tonight, it could have been a parent or a student or a combination. Absolutely, the student has to attend on Sunday. Parent can and should, but you can't just send the parent. The student needs to come on Sunday. Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Raina on Prompt in general, on what she talked about tonight, or anything else?
Some people like to know how many reviews they should get. If you're just looking for help with your Common App essay, again, it's that the 3 reviews is what we try to aim towards. And again, that's a strategy you can use for peer feedback as well. We don't make a secret of our strategies. We basically told you everything just then. Content and structure first essay, first edit, the sort of cleanup, the deciding, and then save the sentence level stuff for the end. Aw, thank you, Natalia.
Okay. Well, thank you, Raina.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you everybody for attending. And any questions, people can always follow up with me. It's Debbie@roadtocollege.com. If I can't answer it, I pass it on to Brad. So, we will definitely get your question answered if you have one. Okay.
Bye. Bye, Debbie. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Hopefully see you soon. Bye.